All right, dudes, welcome to another episode of Overshot, a paintball podcast. We're super excited to get to our guest, but before we do, it's the holiday season. The snow is out where Waldo and I right now. It's actually snowing like crazy right now. So that means it's time to get your holiday gifts and head on over to diezanasports.com and do that. When you do that, you can use code Overshot. You'll save 10% off anything. They have all kinds of stuff. They have gloves, the Grind Air gloves, SF joggers. They have jerseys. Two of the jerseys on the wall behind me are both Overshot. Are both Diezana. So definitely go there. Check them out. Like I said, use the code, save 10%, help out the podcast, and help out Diezana, dude. They got great stuff. Like I said, I also just got some soft goods coming soon, so they'll be here. And yeah, use the code and check them out. We also have another sponsor for this episode, and that's Volcano. They make the new little backpacks that you see rocking. I guess they're not little. I shouldn't say that. But they're new and they're super awesome. They fit all my gear. I have 2 guns. I have 2 loaders, 2 tanks, and all my clothes. And it's a backpack. It's super great for if you just like head into the field real quick and you don't want to get that roller bag out, or like I was just saying, it's snowing right here, so you want to be dragging that thing through anything in the snow. You could just throw this thing on your back, head to the field. So definitely head on over to their website, which is Volcano USA, and the code there is Overshot10. Go there, shop away, get yourself some gifts. But now that that is over, I can't wait to talk to our guest, Alex Gray. Man, thank you for coming on the show, dude.
Yeah, no problem. Very happy to be here.
Awesome, man. So I love kicking this off with the classic question of how did paintball find you? Was your first time at like a birthday party or what? Like, how did that go?
Good question. First time that I played paintball, I discovered it on ESPN back in 2006. I was in 5th grade at the time. So I think I saw like the Naughty Dogs playing Dynasty at the time with the air inflated bunkers. And as far as the first time I played, my uncle and I at the time, we were living in Long Island, New York. We Googled where to play paintball. And then we came across Cousins Indoor Field out in Comac in East Long Island. And that was the first time that I played with some walk-ons, like scared as shit. I remember hiding behind like the Aztec or whatever I was doing in that indoor field. But I think the rest is kind of history after that.
Yeah, cool. So what about it though? Like was like, yo, this is my new jam. Was it the first time you shot somebody? Was it the first time you got shot? What was it?
I don't know. I think it was just exhilarating to begin with. It was something that was so new. And I'm an athlete, so I played other sports, at the time, football, lacrosse, different things like that. But this was just like this whole new world that I was being exposed to. The adrenaline that I got from it was really exciting, and just kind of being exposed to a new, different culture. And it kind of came out to me in different layers. When you're starting off, you're playing with people with like the tipmans and the walk-ons, and you're kind of only seeing that thing. But I think when things got propelled for me was when I was exposed to the Monday night power sessions that they had in Cousins Indoor. And that's where you would come and kind of see all the guys and like the sick jerseys they're wearing, all the nice guns that they had going on. You're listening to like the 15 balls a second go on. And it's like, whoa, like I'm really in this thing right now. And this is like something that I can aspire towards. People like playing at a high level.
Yeah, dude, Monday nights, that's when the grinders come out. That's not your weekend warrior. Those are the dudes putting in work.
Yep, Monday night. Go get it.
Cool. So your first time was like straight airball, just walk-ons. And like, so like what kind of happened next? Did you try and find a team, or did you just keep going and just like crushing regular walk-on play?
All right. So if we're going back to like 06, I think it's something that was interesting to me. Once I played, then I would go to like Franklin Square in Long Island to kind of find out that they had some gear that you could buy. I think the PMR rail was like one of the first guns that I got. That was like a good, like efficient gun. The first tournament that I played in was a Young Guns 3-man tournament that they would host at Cousins Indoor in Long Island. And I remember like I brought like a buddy of mine from town that was my sister's age, and she's 5 years older than me. I heard that he, played paintball, so he entered in the tournament. And then there was another kid, Justin, that he would show up on the power sessions, and he kind of had the courage to get out there and play against some of those guys that I remember asking him to play with me also. I think we were the Outlaws or something like that, went into the tournament. But that was like some of the most awesome memories that I have of paintball back then, because those 3-man tournaments, there was a Young Gun League, And there was also the older Division II, and there was a ton of teams that played. They set up the fields in a way where like there was one section here, and then on their full size field, they divided that into half. So you had 2 other fields there that people could play on. And the 3-man tournament was like a really good intro to things, I think. And then, past that, you've got your X-Ball series and different things like that. But that was one of the first tournaments that I definitely remember.
No, that's cool. And yet, like you were saying, just go right into it. So like, what you're playing 3-man though, but like, so did you play in the woods at all, or did you just strictly to airball?
No, I've never been a woods ball player. Okay. That's not really been my thing. Like ever since getting into the sport, like I totally respect it. I think it's an exciting thing, and it's definitely got its own unique purpose to it. But I've always been attracted to the jerseys of paintball as if it was like playing basketball, football, lacrosse, or a different sport like that.
Right.
And let's see, back in 06 or like going into 07, that's when I was made aware of pbstar.com. So I had never been to a PSP event before, but I would watch all of the pro games on there. Right. So I would get to see X-Ball happen. So I could tune in to like the legendary matchup in the LA Open 07 of the Iron Men versus the Russian Legion at the time, could watch that, become familiar with the players, and just kind of like be there, even though I wasn't there. And then the first PSP tournament that I ever went to was World Cup in 07 in Orlando. I remember traveling down there. But before, if you wanted to compete at the local level in the tri-state area, that was the GPL. We played in the GPL series. You'd have to travel to like Maryland or Jersey, or some of the different areas that they would host those events. So I think we played like the GPL series, and then I went to PSP World Cup. And then in that off season of 07 going into 08, I fully picked up the sport and then like got on a team. It was legit. And I think that's where kind of got on pace with the sport.
Okay, that's crazy. So this whole time you're just a free agent killer. You're not really on a team. You're just like a murderer for hire.
I can give you some names now. I don't know if these team names have passed the test of time, but when I was little Alex at the time. I could barely fit my hand over the start station. I was like 12 or 11 at the time. So I played for Long Island Caretakers in D4 5-man in World Cup 07. And in World Cup 07, there was a ton of teams back then.
Like 80 to 100 per division.
100, yeah. And the D4 was like wild, like so many teams. And I remember just being like so intimidated going to that tournament, just thinking, wow, like there's like a lot of teams here. But so that was World Cup 07 for me. What I enjoyed most about that tournament was going into the grandstands and watching the pro games live for the first time, because I'd been watching all these guys on PB Star, but I'd never seen them play like in the World Cup setting. And I remember getting there early one morning and watching like Jacksonville Raiders versus LA Infamous. And that was like one of the most exciting experiences, just to sit back and watch those guys. In the GPL series, there's a guy named, I don't know if you guys know his name, is Christopher Smiley Knight. Smiley is his name, is an older guy, and he kind of took me under his wing. He called me Little Alex. And his team name that he was playing in those Cousins 3-man tournaments was called Gotham City Gangsters. And so I ended up playing a 7-man tournament with Gotham City Gangsters. And I remember at that time, it was the Arsenal Predators in GPL, who I was like shit scared of. Like that team, like they were all wearing the grills, like they looked like in sync. They had the guy that ran to the sink and like ran to the snake with his hand in front of his face while he was doing it. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm getting on the field with these guys.
He does the hand thing. This dude's a pro. Oh,
yeah,
man.
yeah. Holds it in his right hand. He's got this, a little trick to like block out the balls. He's fast. They're communicating well. So,
no, that's too funny. So you were about to go into it until I made you go back.
Yeah. So all right. So 08. So in the off season from 07 going into 08, we kind of like all these teams came together. So on Long Island at that time, in the D3 Division 3 region, all of the best players either played for Bad Blood or they played for Lift. And then above that was the ECE guys, the East Coast Empire guys. And then that season they had a team called Riptide. So if you know Robbie Altimore and Joey Altimore, And
he
like
was
John,
on the podcast, Robbie. Robbie's a good friend of ours, and Robbie's playing pro now in New York Extreme. So
awesome. Yeah, so he used to kick my ass at the indoor field, like back in the off season of 07. So they were playing on Riptide, and then so we took like some of the bad blood guys, basically. So like Anthony Baracco, Kyle O'Gara, rest in peace to him. He was a great friend of mine at the time. Kevin Conklin, Brian Goldberg, Sully at the time, Jesse Solomon. Just a bunch of us guy like Abe Timsa. We all got together to try to form a team and go into the PSP season in 08. I think we ended up missing the Phoenix tournament, the first one of that year. And we ended up going to D2, which was like way out of our heads. I think like looking back just to like get the 2 D1 players, we should have stayed in D3 at the time. But we would go to Cousins and we would practice against Riptide, which was LJ, Robbie, Joey, and those guys. And I remember just getting my ass kicked at that time over and over and over again. But it really propelled me to like lose the fear of playing against guys like that. And I think once you can lose the fear of playing against guys like that, you play at a fast pace, it helps you out going into the national stage. Really just kind of opens your eyes that, Long Island, New York isn't the only place that's got talent. It's all over the country. There's a ton of good teams and they're all pretty good at paintball.
No, for sure. Some of the better guys definitely come out of our area. Like you said, just scrapping blows with, trying to get better every day.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the first like established team that like you joined that like I guess you can like consider yourself really a part of?
So I did Murderers Row in 08. In 09, so we started the season in Division 2, which I think was in over our heads, back then, like going like 0-4 in the prelims or something like that. By the end of the season, we were in D3, and we went 2-2. In the 09 off season, I remember a lot of those guys went and joined up on a thing called Wired with the Arena Paintball League guys. Like, I don't know if you know Dakota Bransfield and his dad Russ, like they had their team there. And so I went my own way and I ended up playing with the Jesters organization in 09. And there was,
legendary
like Goldberg from Long Island. I would get in the car and ride with him, Mario and Jake, and we would take the trip to Jersey. And I was like, little Alex, little kid, but it also exposed me to a different world, like seeing those guys and then being a part of the Jesters camp and the Jesters organization. And if I could have like any opinion or insight, I would say back in like 08 at the time, when the Jesters had a successful season in D2, I think out of that area, they did it the best in like organizing the farm system of how they had their team set up. And that would actually go to the national stage and compete. I remember going to Atlas back in 08 and it was just like flooded with all these they were sponsored by Dye. So it was all these different colored Dye teams. And they were all the Jesters teams. So I think in 09, playing with the D3 team, that was a good experience for me, like getting in with those guys and understanding like how they practice. Their mentality is very serious. They do the little things. They run before practice. They stretch. Timmy, Dylan, guys like that. They're really good minds within the sport. I think I learned a lot from those guys. And then just like, I think in order to get to a certain level, you have to observe a certain level firsthand. So being able to observe the D1 guys play, I think was very helpful to me just to like learn and see them at practice consistently.
Yeah, you're like, oh shit, so this is how it's done. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
100%. Yeah. And that was a good team too. And 09, the season was pretty competitive then. I was in 7th grade at the time, so I'm not like I was 13 years old at the time, but I was still like, it was important to me to play paintball every weekend. So I was playing paintball every weekend, and you're only going to get better if you choose to do that with your time. Choose to go out to the paintball field. You're sacrificing other things that you could be doing, but it's what you're happy doing. And I was lucky to grow up around good players in the region.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, sounds like it. No, so that's crazy. So what's it like being in 7th grade, driving out to Jester practice, like scrapping it up with these dudes, and then showing up on math class Monday morning. Like,
yeah, it's totally what it was. Like it's, and only if you play paintball do you know it, you know, like I think the age gap and the age dynamic is a really good thing. It's good to be around guys that are older than you, that are, you know, talking about all sorts of different stuff. But because you're both holding a paintball gun, it has some symmetry between you and you can relate on a certain level. And I don't know, it's just that's what I enjoyed. It was like my secret life almost. Like no one in my town really needed to know like what I was up to or what I was doing, but that's where I would choose to do with my weekends. And it's what I looked forward to most during the week.
No, definitely for sure. Like the age, like I play with a ton of people. Like I'm 33, so I play with a lot of people that are younger than me. And it's like, it doesn't matter how old you are. If you could do your job, like that's what matters. Like then that's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter if you're 16 and I'm 30 and you're like whatever, and the other guy behind me is 40. As long as he's living at the home, bro, he's good, man.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, for that 16-year-old too, or someone that's younger than that, you might not realize it, but just being around you as someone that's older, they look up to you, and they're gonna look up to you right away. So you've got a big influence on them and their maturation process, and like even just like, you know, just shitting on them, giving them shit, or like messing with them or whatever. You're growing them as a man. Like, and I think sports are really good for that. It definitely has a place for that. And then the only advice I'd have for the young kid is just get better, because you know if you can get better and you can beat up on the older guys, and they can't mess with you.
No, for sure, dude. We have some local kids in our area that are definitely grinding. They're getting better like all the time. They're definitely going for it, and it's just funny because like you're saying, like he's a younger kid, and I just remember like I'm a pretty joking guy. Like I'm always joking, and like sometimes like, oh fuck this and motherfuck that or whatever. The kid like brought his parents to one time, and I was like, oh shit, I got to behave. Like I'm 33, dude. Like I couldn't behave for anybody. Like I felt like I was like, dude, I got to be on my best behavior here.
Yeah, the parents are around. They need a good influence, right?
Well, that's it.
Exactly.
Like we've been playing with, like, I've played a couple tournaments with him, and I don't want his parents to think that like the kind of my team is a fucking jerk off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're out here just trying to win. I am, but I can't let them think that. They got out here that I'm good for their son.
What happens at the paintball field stays at the paintball field.
Exactly, dude. And as a young kid that made it through the New York scene and playing in the Jesters, you understand it's the way about us, man. It's that hard Northeast grind that people want to, we're not as lovey-dovey as maybe other sides of the coast or anything like that. Like we're going to light you up, and, you're going to learn that way. I think it's gotten a little better since back in the day, but I mean, it's still, what's your feelings on that, type of attitude as someone that grew up in the New York scene?
Yeah, I'll give it to you straight, and I'll compare it to the West Coast paintball. Okay. The New York thing, like that's totally a thing. Like I remember Bad Blood, Lift, Jesters, like every practice was on the brink of a fist fight. That's just kind of like, that's kind of how it was. And that's kind of how it went down if it went down. But when it comes to placing and when it comes to winning at tournaments, I think the mistake that a lot of the East Coast and Northeast teams have that I was exposed for when I went on to the West Coast is cheating in practice. Okay. Like one point I want to make for this, right? If you're coming from Long Island, New York, and you're going to Atlas on a Sunday, back in 2008, and you're playing, because there's so many people lined up just to play on one field, you might really only get like 1, 2, or 3 points the entire day. So you really think like if you get hit in the hopper and you made that whole trip out there, you're just going to get out right away. It's like, man, like I just made that whole trip here. Like, like, do I really want to get out right now? Like everyone's so competitive. He's cheating. We're all trying to win in practice. We're all trying to get street cred, respect for our teams. Like we're just trying to win in practice. Winning in practice matters, right? So we can have bragging rights. But you see a lot of Northeast teams, they go to the tournaments and they don't win the tournaments. Because I think when I started going and competing on the West Coast, especially with like the Ironman once upon a time, like honesty in practice really matters. The guy needs to know from the home if he hit you in the pack when you're diving into the snake, because he needs to know if his shot's on in that situation. Or accuracy matters more, like different things like that matter more. So by the time you get to the tournament, it's better to be honest, and it's better to like do things the right way versus just trying to win in practice all the time. because you see a lot of teams that like don't win in practice, but they go out and win the tournament. And I think that some teams that look great and like are all hoorah in practice don't actually end up going and winning the tournaments because they get exposed in the tournament. And that's just one quick insight that I have.
Couldn't say it better, dude. Couldn't say it better, man. That's something that I've been trying to preach on these young kids, man, is like, dude, we're not here to win practice, man. We're here to get better. And you know, I remember even back in the day when I was playing like Division 4 and we went to like New Jersey and we were playing like Wolfpack and we thought, you know, whatever, you know, semi-pro, whatever, and we're like, yeah, we're beating them. Yay, great, we're awesome. And then we went to the tournament and we got our shit rocked. And then I'm like, oh, what was different? Your motherfuckers doing something that you weren't supposed to be doing because, you know, they're D1 or whatever ranking they are. So, you know, you feel like, all right, I could cheat them because they're D1. It won't matter. But, I mean, like you're saying, at the end of the day, dude, you know, being honest in practice is everything.
It all adds up. It adds up in the tournament. And the tournament really lets you know with what you stand. You've got refs there. You know, when the ball breaks, You got to get out. And it doesn't matter, like, how tough you are. You got to come off the field. It's a matter of bodies.
Yeah. No, and it pays to, like, err on the side of caution in tournaments, too, because – I mean, you see penalties all the time in tournaments, so it's not like you're playing on. A lot of times people don't even know that they're hit. So, like, in practice, err on the side of caution. Like, if you think you got hit in the pack, like, kind of give it a little, like, give it a check. Like, because in a tournament, it's just going to be a penalty. You're going to be like, yo, what? And they're just going to be like, yo, minor, you were hitting the pack and you were shooting a gun. Like, that's it. You're not going to be told nothing.
Yep. And then on the flip side to that is the true best pros are the ones who cheat like it's nothing. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that or been exposed to that before, but the real best of them will just not even think twice about it, and they're playing on, but it's not, hey, look at the ref really quick, like make sure you're clean. It's just like all simultaneous one movement. It never happened, and they've got the balls to pull off moves like that when they choose to.
I think there's some good footage of Goldman doing one in I think it was like the MPPL Vegas or something.
Yep, in the hopper and just like seamlessly like slide it off, slide in the snake. It's a real pro.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do, you know?
No, yeah, man. Like Waldo and I go to a lot of like the mechanical things, the ICC and stuff like that. And you see some real old school guys. You see some real expert level pro cheating in the woods, man.
But, you know, in practice, coming up on the Northeast, if you cheat in front of the Jesters, it's like not the best, you know, like not the best move to do. You know, you got something waiting for you when you get off the field.
Yeah.
There's consequences.
Yeah, that's also part of the Northeast toughness for sure. But
everything has its place.
No, for sure. So I know we kind of alluded to it, but so like, what happened after you on the Jesters, and kind of like what happened during your time on the Jesters?
Yeah, so I played D3 with them in 09, and let's see, by the end of the 09 season, for whatever reason, a very close friend of mine, I don't know if you guys know who Chris Kutzler is. He comes out of the Philadelphia area. Twitch is his name. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. But he kind of formed into, like, he's who helped get me on the Jesters at that time. And he was playing D3. He was older than me. He was a good player, and he kind of came like my big brother figure within paintball. And we didn't have a team to play for World Cup because I think the Jesters didn't have a divisional team, but their D1 team was going to play at the 09 World Cup. So I remember we got picked up by the Palm Beach Vipers and just got exposed to that somehow to play that World Cup tournament. And back in like 7th grade, this was the time where, like, if that tournament was in October, I would be handing my football coach a letter that said I had a wedding to go to in Florida and like go play the tournament and then show back up like nothing happened. And all the kids are like finding pictures of me on Facebook. Like, he was in fucking Orlando, like shooting paintball. Like, what is he? But
there are no welts on my back. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. So that was 09 World Cup, October 09. And then we ended up meeting a guy, Daryl, there, who was affiliated and involved with the D2 team called Velocity Wrecking Crew. They wore red dye gear. And then at that World Cup in 09, Velocity Wrecking Crew's D3 team, this is a team out of San Diego ended up winning World Cup. One of the players on that team that you guys might recognize now is Corey Hall, that plays on the D side of the Ironmen. And then on their D2 team, one of the names you might recognize now is Alex Rodriguez, played on the D2 team. If you know the product and the brand known as KM Straps, do you know who KM Straps is? Yeah. The owner of that is Leif Kellenberger, and then his son was also called Leaf. Twiggy was his nickname also. He played on that D2 team. So within that Velocity Wrecking Crew camp, there was a guy named Daryl, I think Henderson was his name, and somehow Twitch and him hit it off at the tournament, and we're talking like, hey, you guys should come out to California for a practice. And Twitch is like, well, I got my little bro Alex with me, you know, can he come out too? And he's like, yeah, sure, like come out. So that was the first time that I got exposed to Camp Pendleton in San Diego, Oceanside, California, and ended up doing a practice there. And I would say of any practice that I've ever done or anything I've been exposed to, like that was the best run paintball weekend. We played a tournament there. We had like the turf field. I was very interested in like what they had going on with KM Straps, his like new school brand that he was pushing. So he was going to rename the team New School Wrecking Crew. And
isn't that Cuba's brand?
Yeah, so I guess it was affiliated with Nicky Cuba, but he was never really like out at our practices, so to speak. I think he was playing with Infamous at the time, but we were playing as the team named New School Wrecking Crew. And the D2 team from World Cup that ended up like placing, and then the D3 team that ended up winning World Cup, they combined to make one team, New School Wrecking Crew. And so we were practicing all off season to play D2. So keep in mind, I started my paintball career playing in 08 in D2, but I wouldn't say I was fully at that level. And even in this time in 2010, we went into a D2 tournament, but I wasn't necessarily like playing every point. Like A-Rod was playing most of the crucial points. Chris Catt was playing crucial points. Twiggy was playing crucial points. Daniel Lopez, a guy that played for the Ironmen in 2012, was playing those crucial points. And Twitch and I were learning under these guys, but we got to play against them in practice and we got to learn how they practice. And that's definitely where I think paintball got to the next level to me, to where I would come out and I would compete on the weekends on the West Coast. And by the time I came back to like, let's say like high velocity paintball or like Cousins paintball or any of these different scenarios, I definitely felt like I was more advanced being exposed to like different things out there. And so we were gearing up in the off season of 2010 to play the WCPPL, the West Coast Paintball Players League. And we ended up actually winning the first tournament in D2 in the 2010 season. And that was like a great feeling to like win money and win tournament and like, you know, be under guys that knew what they were doing and knew how to win, you know, all that different stuff. So I was exposed to that. And then come Phoenix 2010, we ended up taking second place at PSP. And that was a big deal for me. Like I had never even come close to, you know, making a Sunday in the divisional rounds of PSP. So it was cool to like be a part of a winning team. For whatever reason, go ahead.
Sorry, was that win your first win? Like, or is it
I would
like
say
your first national win at least?
Yeah, first national win. So
well, WCPPL is a regional, so
that's a regional.
Right,
that doesn't count.
Right.
That doesn't count. I would say, let's see, 2010. So let me just run through this chronologically really quick. And I think it'll help get my mind, because we're here in 2020 and I'm 25 years old. So let me just scale back real quick and I'll get there for you, I promise. So in 2010, we ended up getting second in Phoenix. We didn't end up finishing the season as New School Wrecking Crew. I think we played a couple more WCPPLs. And then in that off season of 2011, that's when Straza opened up his Meadowlands field that I went down to play at. And so I basically ended up playing 2011 with Wolfpack. Straza, Ian Wilson, Dottie was an ex-Jester. Twitch came along with me. One of our friends that passed this year, Zach Zerfrost, Gator, played on that team with us. Dave Freed, Tiger. I don't know if you know any of these guys, some of our friends around the camp. And so we actually ended up getting second place that season in Chicago, but still didn't get a first place win. So the reason I think I'm saying that is because I don't think I got a first place at the national level until I played with Uprising. And I think the first time we got a win was in 2015. The last PSP tournament ever was in Dallas. It was like in the mud and it was a shit show. And we ended up, it was Dallas, right? So we ended up winning in semi-pro in D1 in 2015. And I think we went on only to lose one tournament that year in semi-pro. So that was like my first taste of like really winning, really feeling deserving and being ready to compete at the pro level at that time. But I didn't like crush the divisionals going into pro or have some like historical run or anything like that. I think if we could have stayed together as new school, it might have worked out. But like our D-side player, CC Chris Cat, got picked up at by Ironman at the time.
Right.
I'm not even sure where A-Rod went, but I know he was pro ready. I think he got on the Ironman in 2012. Daniel Lopez got on in 2012. And, Leaf was still running KM straps. So.
Yeah, they picked the good players. That happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But so you kind of alluded to it again. Like I said, I know your history kind of well, but you were eventually on Uprising.
So,
but like what? Oh,
go ahead.
Go, Waldo. Go.
So with that being said, I know kind of where I saw you first play or heard your name even, growing up in Long Island, but I was kind of playing woods ball. And then eventually, I got into speedball later on. I know you said you played with Wolfpack, but I remember being at, I think it was an MAO, but you weren't on the main Wolfpack at the time. You were on I think it was called Wolfpack 2.
Mm-hmm. 2013.
With Jesse Raisky, who plays out here on Long Island, Jim Corcoran, who's a high velocity guy and stuff like that. And I remember however the snake was, and I think there's a video, I think it was like Eagle Ballers or whoever made the video or something like that. And you were playing the snake like really well, like popping the beam inside and outside. And like you were just straight like dunking on kids. And I remember saying something to like Straws, and I was like, why? And I barely knew the guy. To me, he was like a big dude, because like I would go and I would wait on the line at Meadowlands, D4, like wait for my turn, like you saying back in the day, get my 3 spins for the day and be like, all right, cool, like who we playing? All right, good, get our shit rocked. All right, let's figure it out, get back online. But I mean, the biggest thing I remember him saying to me was something, I'm like, why is that kid on the D1 team? And he was like, he wouldn't be able to do what he's doing in D1. He can do it here, and I think it was like, I don't know if it was D3 or D2 or whatever it was.
D2. It
was D2. So, I mean, that's just kind of my first recollection of you or anything like that. I mean, were you always on the D2 team, or did you kind of bounce back and forth, or something to get you more playing time or more spins, or?
All right. So you're watching me in a tournament in 2013. I was a junior in high school at the time. So I would say my athleticism was catching up to me from like some of the things that I was preparing for football and lacrosse. So I think my speed caught up to me, my strength caught up to me. I was able to jump and do some things like that. So we played as Wolfpack in 2011. We ended up getting, the best we ever did was we ended up getting second place at Chicago in that tournament. We ended up losing to Grad Moscow, I believe at the time. And to give some perspective, in that same division of Division II in 2011, LJ, who would go on to play with Heat, and now he's on X Factor, and Ronnie, who's playing on Houston Heat now, they played on a team called Distortion out of the Chicago region. And so like we had to beat them in the semifinals to make it to the final. So that was 2011. So let's see, 2012, I think Wolfpack ended up like going to make a team called Laser Cats, and then they didn't really go all the way with that. And then they wanted to go as Wolfpack in D1. And I think I played one tournament with them in 2012 MAO towards the end of the season. I remember the Jesters were in the division with us. I think like San Diego Pirates were in the division with us. Texas Storm was in the division with us. I don't remember who ended up winning that tournament, but I remember that, I don't think we were practicing and preparing to fully win the tournament. So I think we're going in as homies, trying to play D1 and kind of see what happens at that level. So let's see, 2012, that World Cup, I ended up playing with some of the Murderers Row Bad Blood guys from Long Island in a D3 tournament. And we ended up making Sunday. I think I was playing D3 at the time. So like rest in peace to like Kyle O'Gara. I remember playing that tournament with him, Kevin, Baracco, those guys. And I actually played for my first time. I was more of like the Murderers Row Bad Blood camp of guys. I never played with Lift, the Long Island fight team, but I remember just like scrapping it together and wanting to play that tournament with those guys. But I think like come 2012, I was a sophomore in high school. And I athletically think I was getting to that level where I was ready to compete. And this is a good story for you guys. So in that off season, I ended up texting Daniel Lopez just to like see what he was up to in the off season. And I didn't really know who I was playing with going into that off season into the 2013 season. But he said, yeah, my buddy who just joined Dynasty, his name was Brandon Short. He had come from Ironman to go play for Dynasty. I think I'm going to go practice with them for the weekend. Do you want to come out? And it was kind of like giving me flashbacks to when I was playing in the new school days in 8th grade coming out to California. But I said, yeah, heck yeah, I'm down to come out there and play with you guys. I didn't really know what I was in for, but it ended up being like a full-on practicing as if I was a member of San Diego Dynasty experience at Camp Pendleton, where we showed up and we got to like train with them for the full day. Take laps around the field with them. Like Oliver was leading the stretches. Yosh Rao was leading the stretches. Yeah. We were doing drills after practice. And like I fully got a full weekend, if not stay there for a couple more weekends going into the Dallas tournament that year, like thinking I could potentially compete for a spot on the Dynasty team at the time. And I remember like one thing that stuck with me is Oliver said to Daniel, he's like, who is that kid wearing the JTs? He's like, oh, that's my buddy Alex. He's like, that kid has potential. And ever since that moment, like I think I was kind of wishy-washy of like, do I really want to do paintball professionally? I'm living in New York now. I'm still in high school. I got all these kids around me that are like committing to colleges to go play for lacrosse. Some are getting in. Well, they're not into college yet, but it's like time for them to start getting seriously with it. I was like, this is what I want. Like, I really want to play for San Diego Dynasty. Like this is my dream. Like what more could I want? And I think they ended up winning the Dallas tournament in 2013. And that was the tournament that you say you saw me like jumping over the snake and doing all of those things. So if you can imagine practicing with Dynasty, almost feeling that you had a potential to like potentially make the team in a way, and then going and playing a D2 tournament, your mind's thinking at a different level because you're practicing against these guys and you're moving at a certain speed. So by the time you go back to a D2 tournament and you're practicing on the East Coast, you're kind of like transforming and you're evolving at that point. I think that's where I was at then. And so throughout that whole season, I just stayed in contact with Rusty Glaze, just a little bit here back and forth. But I wanted to show him, I could perform and maybe he would come watch me at the different divisional tournaments and kind of scout me. And that kind of became like my end all be all goal at that time.
Yeah, man. And like, hey, like I said, we're getting there too, but you eventually made it to two pro and stuff like that. But how did your time on the Wolves finish out? So you're going out there to practice with them. You're saying you kind of 13, you weren't too sure what you were going to do. So what did you eventually decide to do?
So Straza brought up the potential to me that I could like kind of lead this group of D2 guys and get all the spins and play all the points and get all the reps and really like focus on my skills. And
get to play a lot.
Get to play a lot, which is really important too. Like you can think, man, I'm playing D1, so I feel like a D1 player. But if you're really like not getting that much spins and you're not playing in a tournament every point and not understanding and processing all that information, it could almost probably be more valuable for you to play in a lower division in a leadership role to kind of have that going on for you. And that's what I did. I think in the Dallas tournament, we ended up making Sunday, losing in the quarterfinals. In D2, in the second tournament, MAO, I think we ended up making it to the semifinal against DC's Devastation. So we were progressing as a team as we were coming together. We were definitely getting better. I could notice that, and I could sense that. And I don't think I think we played Chicago. We didn't do well the third tournament of the year. And I don't even think I played World Cup that year in 2013. So that kind of fell out. But so that was playing with Wolfpack within that system. It's really, you got to give credit to Straza because he's got the field at the Meadowlands and he's kind of hosting everything, right? And that's really important as a team too. Like you want to have your own field. You want to be able to dissect the field. You want to be able to play with each other. You know, you want to get the full experience to be able to grow. If you're only getting a couple points here and there, it's not going to do you so well. And then the learning experience that you're going to have really is in the tournament. And we all know when you get to the tournament, it goes by so fast that like you just want more, you know, right? So like playing really matters. So that was Wolfpack in 2013. And then 2014 was really my shift to pro. Mm-hmm. So in the 2014 off season, I was in contact with Alex Goldman from Ironman, and you know, he was like, "Hey, look, if you want to show up. You know, like we're gonna be practicing here." And so they had Shane Piston at the time. Marcelo was playing on the team in 2014. I remember in the summer of 2013 showing up to a practice with the Ironmen at the time. Do you guys know who Brandon Cornell is?
Yeah.
So this was the weekend that Brandon got on the Ironman. And I also had another buddy of mine, Nate Schrader, who I think earned his spot on the Ironman too over the summer in 2013. But I had one of those experiences again where it's like it's so invaluable, can't get it back. But I ended up having a weekend of basically trying out a couple weekends for men. And I remember just like getting my ass kicked by Mike Hinman, like just totally being afraid the whole time, like seeing how they do things at that higher level. And again, like any advice I have to younger people coming up is you definitely want to put yourself in those situations where you're getting your ass kicked, you're learning, you're breaking down all those walls, you're breaking down all those fears, all those barriers, because then you're going to start to mentally believe that you belong to be playing against this level. And it's just going to help you so much out in order to like think clearly at the higher level. But so in 2014, I was still kind of coming out, trying to make that pro spot with the Ironmen, still kind of juggling senior year of high school at the time. I ended up playing with those D1 Wolfpack guys in 2014 on Avalanche. They had the team called Avalanche there. Mm-hmm. And then the East Coast Empire guys were the D2 team at that time. I think they were playing as Leverage. It was their team there in like 2014, like Altamore, Robbie, and Joey and those guys. So getting closer to them playing. We did Dallas. I think we went like 2-2 in the prelims. I remember playing, this was D1 2014 Uprising at the time. I didn't know who those guys were, but I just remember that was like one of the teams that we played against. And let's see, the first opportunity that I had to play a pro tournament in 2014 was with Alex Goldman, Alex Rodriguez, Dalton, and myself. And,
Rooster, right? Didn't Rooster put that?
Yes, yeah, exactly. We had like some throw together team somehow, and we played at like USXL or some team like that. So you know what I'm talking about.
Sean Henderson.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And those guys were affiliated with Long Live Paintball in New Jersey, which ended up being like the field that I was practicing out with Avalanche in 2014. That was a nice field setup they had. So that was like my first taste of it, but you know, I don't really count that because that's not a national level. Mm-hmm. And then I'm still closely involved with the Ironman guys, still like, you know, trying to go out to practices with them, trying to spot on that team, but it wasn't time yet, or else I would have been on the team. And then I ended up getting an opportunity to play with a lot of those guys, got affiliated through DIE to play CXBL.
Yeah, the Canadian.
So the Canadian League. So it was like Brandon Cornell, Chris Catt, Danny Barra, Toke Hamill, some of those Ironman guys. And then I got invited somehow to play on this team, Markham Genesis in CXBL. Okay. By far, like, you want to talk about playing points in a tournament, by far, like one of the best tournaments to ever play. I think it was the 2-half system. So you're not playing a race 2 format. Yeah. So I got to play a ton of points. And I think we played against like the Houston Heat guys in that tournament, or who else was in that tournament? There was another, Revo. I think Baltimore Revo was involved in that tournament somehow. Okay. And so like that was a really good experience. Again, just like playing at the pro level. The key for me was on my team, I didn't know his name, was Graham Arnold.
Okay.
And so he was playing on the team with us. If you know the guy with the red hair that plays on Uprising now. Yep. And so we kind of became homies. And then I think in the off season, I was still trying to get that summer. This was me going into college, 2014, August 2014. I was still trying to practice and get on a spot with Ironmen, but still they weren't going to pick me up yet at that time. And they kind of had their roster set. And Graham was like, hey, why don't you come and play with Uprising? I was like, really? Like Uprising? Like I've never like this team. Are you like a 2-2 team like Avalanche? Like, yeah, like maybe I'll play with you guys. But we ended up going 4-0 in the prelims. The first tournament we ever played was the West Coast Open in 2014. And I was like, all right, these guys know how to win. It all, for whatever reason, it all kind of came together. I had never practiced with them before the tournament. They needed a snake player. I ended up going in and playing the tournament with them. And I think because of the success we had, the rest is kind of history. Like we only advanced past that tournament. We didn't end up winning that tournament. I think we ended up losing like on Sunday, the first game that we had. But I think those guys, especially Tommy Tucker, wanted to go pro and wanted to play pro. And so I had the opportunity to like fly up to Seattle, practice at our own field. We would play against Thunder. We'd kick Thunder's ass in practice, by the way. And I knew these guys were good. And so we ended up, this is where I would say I was definitely ready for pro, but we ended up going to the D1 final in World Cup, and we almost won the tournament. We lost by 1 point. We ended up getting a penalty right as time was running down. And I was storming down the D side, getting ready to push a point and win the point and win the first tournament ever, right? I told you I never won a tournament at the pro level, but I remember just like mentally like being ready to win this tournament. We made it all the ways to the finals, and anyway, we ended up coming up short. So that was my introduction to Uprising. We ended up having success like right off the bat. I owe a lot to Graham for taking me under his wing. I think this probably happens for anyone within paintball, but you need to have someone that's older than you take you under their wing, right? And like kind of have your back, and then you want to do good by them. You want to play well for them and show them that like, for the other guys on the team that, this guy's not a scrub and he brought some value to the team.
Yeah, no, for sure. You want to show that younger kid like the mistakes you made, so hopefully he doesn't make the same ones.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's crazy. Like the whole Uprising thing was kind of like a throw together. Like I was really expecting this like whole like elaborate story, and you're kind of like, nah, bro, we barely practiced. We kind of just went and showed off, fucking killed it, whatever.
Barely practiced before that tournament, and we ended up going 4-0. And I'd never really went maybe like Wolfpack in D2, but I never went 4-0 in the prelims. And I always thought that was a big deal. Like the teams that went 4-0 in the prelims, like that's a good accomplishment to have. I remember coming up like going 2-2 all the time, always having an excuse leaving the tournament by why we didn't get to the next level,
Right. And then you're always leaving in the hands of like the point spread.
Yeah.
Are we going? Are we not? Oh, we were so close.
Fuck that. You're either 4-0 or you're nothing, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're the first or your last, Ricky Bobby. But so what was it like when you were told that Uprising was going pro and your guys were coming up with the teams? Like, was it like, were you like just so juiced? Were you, like, I made it kind of feeling? Or was it like not really like, okay, now I'm here. Now we got to do something now that I'm here.
So I'll give you the spiel now. We've made it all the way to the end of 2014. We're second place we're Portland Uprising at the time. We're second place as Portland Uprising at the time. We had ended up losing to TMG Outlaws. So TMG Outlaws got the bump to go up to, I think maybe they were doing like the upper and under system still then. I'm not sure. Maybe they did go pro in 2015. I'm not sure. But so that left us still in semi-pro for D1. So we won the first tournament of 2015 E.S.P in the mud in Dallas. And we ended up beating Prime from Alabama at that tournament. The key for us that off season was we added 2 people to the team. We added Joel Eaton, who now plays for Aftermath. And we also added Brandon Olson. So the story of Uprising is Tommy Tucker and Aaron Ormrod started the team. They're out of the Oregon region, but there's also like, remember I was talking back in like the Lift Bad Blood days in like D3,
right?
That era, that 2008, 2009 era. In that same era, a team that was doing better than them was called DBS Kids, Doodlebug Sports Kids. And so that was Nate Schrader, that was Alex Borromeo, that was Graham Arnold, that was Brandon Olson. These guys all played with each other from the Young Guns era. So they all have like a relationship with each other. Okay. So we brought on one guy out of that one guy out of that DBS Kids mix, which was Brandon Olson. We brought him onto the team. So Graham Arnold was on the team too, with me already established. So we go into Dallas that year, and like Joel was a great player on the D side for us. And Brandon Olson, this guy's sick. Like not a lot of guys talk about him, but I kind of had the same feeling playing with him as I had playing with Alex Rodriguez back in the day, that this guy will snap out anyone. He shoots people off the break all the time. He'll go up the center and legitimately close out points. Like this guy was a really, really good player. Very quiet guy, but a really good player. So we ended up winning Dallas PSP 2015. They ended up closing the PSP. So we didn't know like what we were going to do going into the next tournament. And the next tournament ended up being the first NXL tournament in 2015. And with the semi-pro system that they had set up, you could have unlimited amount of pros in the semi-pro, right? Mm-hmm. So I think we ended up bringing on Nate Schrader, which was a DBS kid. And we also ended up bringing on Alex Borromeo to Uprising in that situation too, because the new NXL League format allowed for that. Mm-hmm. So we had like the original Portland Uprising guys intact. We had the DBS kids intact. And then you had me like coming out. I was going to school in San Diego. My mom was living in New York still at the time. And they just kind of had me as like the free agent playing with these guys and as a team. And we actually ended up in 2050 going on to have like the most fun historic season. We got second place in Cleveland. I think we got first place in Virginia. We ended up going out to Paris and playing a Millennium tournament. We got first place, and then got first place at World Cup. And then so you're asking like, what was your feeling like going into playing pro for the first time? And I think that we earned it, right? It was a feeling to actually earn it and to win a World Cup and to feel like deserving of it.
Oh, no. No, Alex.
Accordingly.
Oh, that's in a sick virtue video.
Guys, but I can't see you guys.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
Show must go on.
Cool. Yeah. The show must go on. No, perfect. You're back. So, yeah, just try and pick it up. Like you were saying, you felt like you earned your pro spot, and how great that felt. So tell us a little more about that and keep it rolling.
That was a great tournament. We ended up going into World Cup and just like winning the thing clean. I think we dropped one game in the prelims. I think we ended up beating ML Kings played that tournament in the semi-pro bracket. We ended up beating them. And then we ended up beating DMG, who had Max Lundquist on their team in the finals. Tim Brusselback. Let's see, Shane Howe, I think, was playing on DMG at the time then. We ended up winning in the finals. And then that was the year that Dynasty and Heat had that epic last second point in the finals, right after us on the pro field. So it was really cool. It was really cool of an experience to win a World Cup. It was like, holy shit, we did it. This was my dream all along to win a World Cup. And it was a great experience.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you got to share with, like you said, those guys. But now the real test came, because now you're going to the pro division. It's not going to get any easier from here. It's only going to get harder. So what were some of the things that maybe you're trying to do to take your game to the next level going into the pro division?
So that for me was 2015 going into 2016, and I was fully into paintball at that point. I was in college at the time, but I definitely was treating paintball as if it was my main thing. And I think I was doing that since 2015. So I wasn't like, okay, so like, let's talk like individually as an athlete. I feel like we all have a responsibility to compete at that level. So I was definitely in the gym, like doing my workouts, trying to get explosive. Like I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the process of training and preparing as an athlete. I think it's a really healthy thing to do for anyone, is just to like have something to aspire towards. And even though you're showing up to the field on paintball on a Sunday, yes, some of it's important. I think the mental part of it is a lot more important when you get to the pro level. It's not about how many push-ups you can do, how much you can squat. It's really not about any of that. But I definitely was training like as that such, 2015 going into 2016. But still, like the theme transpired for me where at the pro level and at the pro division, yes, it's important to have good gun skills. Yes, it's important to be athletic. It's important to do all these things. But I feel like as fast as the game is going, once those first couple bodies trade out, then that's where the guys who are winning the points come into play, and they're making decisions that are critical in a short period of time, because they can slow the game down, right? So I think one of the worst things that you can do going into the pro division is look across the field and be like, holy shit, I'm playing against this team that I always looked up to, right? Kind of the same feeling that I had playing against Arsenal Predators back on like Gotham City Gangsters. Like if you look at it like that, you've already lost going into it. You've got to be calm in that situation. It's got to be just like no big deal to you. It's got to be like practice almost, right? And that's why you want to practice how you prepare and practice how you play, and put yourselves in those situations and practice, so that by the time you get to the tournament, you don't let it get into your head, so to speak. But I remember just that year, like just totally being exposed to the mental mistakes, in various situations, and playing against smart players. Two situations that I had that first year of pro that I remember starting out. I think one time we were going up against Damage, and I had like shot out my mirror on the snake side. And I remember this was in the Vegas tournament, diving to the snake one. And when I walked the field, I think I remember like I could get on my stomach and crawl all the way down the snake, and no one could see me if the wire was clear. But I think like Jason Edwards at that time moved to like this side of the D side, and got on his tippy toes and was shooting down across the field. And as I'm crawling, my pack ends up getting nicked. So it's just like little things like that. Like I thought in my mind that I could do this, I could go all the way, but he's experienced. He knows his shot, right? He's dialed in on his shot. Mm-hmm. He knows, fuck, that guy just went there. Now immediately I'm going to transition over here. I'm going to shoot this zone where I know he's going to be crawling by, and I'm going to nick his pack in this situation. Or like another situation, I was actually against the same guy, Jason Edwards.
But he made that decision in 2 seconds too.
2 seconds. I'm quick too. Like if I'm moving from a snake insert to the snake, I'm in, and I've already gone through this audition before. Like I know this is what I need to do in this situation. But like chess, he's thinking a step ahead of me. So he knows what I just did, and he knows what I'm thinking, and he knows the next thing that I'm going to do. So he's a step ahead of me in that situation. Or I remember like in Texas, like battling against my mirror, shoot him out in the snake insert wrap, and I see Jason in this situation, and he's in this bunker, and I put him in, and now all of a sudden I'm like, all right, he's in, and I'm like going down the field. Next thing I know, he's already moved to a bunker down the field, and he's just sitting there waiting for me to come down the snake side. He didn't need to battle me. He just needed to go to somewhere else on the field and get ready for my next move. So he's like a step ahead of me. And I think that
he set a trap.
It's a trap. Exactly. Like set a trap. And I think a lot of these guys at the pro level, you'll find guys that'll make teams because they're a fast snake kid. They can do some damage for you. But really when you get to that high level, those guys are making two-step moves ahead of you, right? They're thinking ahead of you, and they're smart players. And that's what helps you compete at that level and win those crucial points. You got smart players out there thinking at a high level.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, I mean, I guess we kind of get to a somber kind of part, because I guess I don't really know the full story, but I mean, you did stop playing at some point in time. So
yep.
I know you're you could talk about your time on Uprising a little more, because I believe you're on it for like 2 or 3 seasons. I'm not quite sure, but kind of tell us, what happened leading up to and why you had to stop playing.
Okay, sure. So we played 2016 Pro. That was a good experience for us as Uprising. We went into 2017 as Pro as well. I remember playing that season. That was a really good season for me because I also got to play the Millennium tournaments. So I was playing with Vienna United, and I was also playing with Uprising, Seattle Uprising. So I think that year I got the full experience being able to play in Europe as well as playing in the States as well. I remember just like playing that whole season out. I think Chicago of 2017 was when I really started to like peak out in the pro bracket and like show my potential. I ended up having a really solid tournament for Uprising, I think, bringing value to the table for the team. And I just remember though in 2017, so this had to be August of 2017, I remember stretching like right before the game on Sunday and just feeling like my legs felt like weak almost. Like they felt as if I had just ran like a marathon. And I was like, I'm really not doing like that strenuous of stuff this weekend. I know we just played the prelims, but my legs should not be like dead like this. Yeah. And so anyway, so I experienced that, and that was like the first like worrisome thing for me that I experienced. So then going into World Cup, it was only getting worse. Like my legs literally like were feeling weak going into the October tournament that year. And I thought, man, like this is really bizarre. Like I'm getting through and I'm playing these points, but it feels harder for me than it should. Right. And so I thought that was kind of weird. And
typical man shit. You're like, oh, it'll get better. I'll just power through. Like I'll be fine, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And so I just thought that was really weird. We ended up finishing the season out. It was a good season. We were competitive. I think we ended up in like 9th place of the whole like pro bracket. So we definitely could have done better. But I was having fun with the guys, and it was a good experience with them.
No, I remember you guys playing well because like I started playing in 14, and like I was in the scenario scene, so I really just watched like NXLs and stuff like that. And I remember watching like you guys kind of like play at the ranks, and like Uprising made a fan out of me because watching you guys play, I was like, yo, they play good paintball, like it's exciting to watch. And you see a lot of teams struggle to even finish middle of the pack, nowadays. Like the same 4 teams are kind of always in the bottom. So to see like you're like, yeah, we would finish 9th, but like given your circumstance, like, it's pretty fucking good, man. Like that, if you ask me, that's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, I mean, I think mindset's everything. We didn't view ourselves as like inferior. Like we went out there to win every game. And I think, that whole mentality and mindset's a very important thing. If you're going to go into these tournaments, no matter who you are, you've got to have confidence. You got to believe that you belong, and you just can't look too much into who your opponent is. Like who cares who your opponent is? As long as you do what you got to do as a player, then if you're doing it well enough, they should play off of that, right? You should be what they're worried about. They shouldn't be you're worried about. So I think we've always had like a pretty solid mindset on the team where, we didn't think too much into things. Like we're just going out, we're playing paintball, and we'll go throw down and scrap with whoever is on the other side of the field. So we had a good mentality.
Right. The dude across from you is always kill one. He's always kill one.
Yeah. You got to believe that no matter who he is, you got to believe that. So let's see, 2017 going into like December 2017, I remember going into the weight room in the off season and just doing like normal pull-ups that I was normally doing. And just getting these shooting pains that were coming down my back. And on top of that, also like doing a leg workout and barely being able to walk down the stairs afterwards. So I had a leg fatigue issue. And then I had this chronic back tightness that came on to me.
Jesus, bro.
And so, my whole off season was figuring out what is this?
Yeah.
Like what's going on? And, if my body's like speaking to me and let me know that I'm uncomfortable in these different situations, then maybe it's not the smartest thing to get out, run, dive, and crawl on the snake.
Right. You got to figure this out.
Yeah, and this is like it's a mystery still to this day. Like as far as leg fatigue goes, like it's not the biggest issue for me, but I definitely have like this just constant tension within my back, and I've been to the world and back to try to figure out what this is and try to overcome it, and I still haven't been able to figure it out. You know, I know all different professional doctors, sports doctors, you name it. I've done MRI tests, I've done acupuncture, physical therapy, like EMG tests, like all this different stuff to figure it out. X-rays on my spine are showing it's like totally normal and it's totally fine. But as far as the feeling goes, I always have like this tightness. And if I go this way, it loosens and pops off. And so what that means for me as an athlete is I've scaled everything back. You know, like I can play paintball right now. I'm sure I could, you know, throw down, you know, tennis, I can, you know, do different sports like that. But afterwards, my body's going to be compromised from it. And I don't recover the way I used to be able to do once upon a time. So with what paintball requires, you know, like if you're really like playing there every weekend, you're putting your body through a lot each weekend. It wouldn't be a smart thing for me to do to put my body through that if it's not capable of enduring that.
No,
so
you gotta take care of you, man. You gotta be smart about this.
Yeah, exactly. But I love paintball so much. I have so many fond memories of it. And so 2018 was like a weird thing for me, you know, like showing up to the Vegas tournament, being there to help out the Uprising guys, but knowing that I've got like this weird body condition going on. You know, it was like kind of weird. And I was graduating college in May of 2018 that year. So it was like kind of important to start focusing on the real world. And, you know, I had some career opportunities present themselves. And, you know, I took that route that wasn't going to go all the way with professional paintball because my body's not going to allow it route. And, you know, life taken me in a different direction. But even if all of the wear and tear that I did on my body has put me in this position that, let's say, potentially I don't come back from, I still don't regret it, because the opportunity to like feel alive and to compete in all those different situations has made me the person I am today. And I wouldn't take any of that back. I wouldn't trade any of that. I think like, you know, if I could go back to someone that was like 12 years old now, I would just say, get out there, just keep doing it. These are going to be some of the best memories you have, you know, of your life. Like that moment when you're playing paintball, nothing else matters. It's this very Zen experience. You're in it. You're trying to solve problems in your head. You're figuring things out. You're getting your adrenaline out there. You know, you're talking shit. You know, you're winning. You're experiencing victory. And then after you get off the field, it's all like just talking about what happened. And that's the camaraderie that brings everyone together. So it's a great thing.
No, dude, paintball's fucking amazing. I love it. But so like, unfortunately, I was just curious because like I'm a big fan. Like I play all kinds of paintball scenario, tournament, blah 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 blah. So when you stop playing, like I didn't really have time to research it, but I was like, damn, that dude, you know, 2001's not. I don't see him anymore. Like I wonder, and you know, especially for the listeners to kind of clear the air. So it's just like, you know, it's an injury thing. It wasn't anything else or anything like that. It's just good to hear. But the other thing I really want to talk to you is, you know, podcast talking to podcast. So why did you want to start your own podcast, and what were your kind of thoughts going into that?
Sure. So let's see. My junior year of college, that was also 2017 when I was starting to experience that with my legs towards the end of that summer. I ended up getting an internship with a guy. I don't know if you guys know who Gary V is on Instagram at all.
Now who's that?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, Gary Vaynerchuk. Yeah. So I majored in communication at San Diego State. I was minoring in entrepreneurship. One of the classes that I had was like an elevator pitch, right? Like if you're ever in a situation and you've got to pitch someone, like, do you have like a 30-second spiel that you can fit out to someone to like earn an internship or to do something like that? So I ended up being presented an opportunity where I ran into him in a hotel one week, and I didn't know much about this guy or know who he was, you know, at all, other than him making like some like YouTube videos where he's talking about how like parents are going to wish for the days kids were taking selfies because we're all going to be living in a virtual reality world like 30 years from now. Like he's always doing like weird like Nostradamus predictions about the future.
Yeah.
But I basically went up to this guy and gave him a 30-second elevator pitch, just like kind of telling him who I was, telling him, you know, I'm a communication major in college. I'm doing like, I'm a marketing rep for this sock company out of Canada. I'll run coffee for you, like if you want. And he's like,
yeah.
I don't make my interns run coffee for me. Like I'll give you a real fucking experience if you want to come out here. And he was like, give me your phone. And I was like, okay, like sure, here. And I remember like talking to his brother at the time, and he hands me the phone back and he's like, all right, done. I was like, what? And he's like, done, you're in, kid. I just emailed my assistant, like you've got an internship. I'll see you May 18th in New York City. I was like, all right, fuck yeah, like let's get it.
Sick, dude. That's fucking amazing, dude. What?
Yeah, it was crazy. It really catapulted my life to a whole nother level as far as like professional career goes outside of paintball. And again, same thing with pro paintball though. It's not so much like, yes, it's important to be really good, but you've also got to have like the social aspect to it too. You know, like if you want to play on that team, you gotta have the courage to go up to that team captain and strike a conversation with him and present yourself in a good way and be able to sell yourself and be able to talk about yourself. Right. You know, like all of those communication dynamics play into earning yourself positions in life. Right. Mm-hmm. So when I got into that VaynerMedia experience, he's got like a whole marketing agency that's building his own personal brand, but also doing like content for companies like Budweiser and companies like, Pepsi and like doing all this different brand stuff. So for me, that experience, not only did it inspire me to hardcore understand that being an entrepreneur is who I am to the core in this world. And I want to earn myself a life like this guy has earned for himself, you know, through selling and doing different stuff like that. But I didn't see Instagram as a business until I stepped into those walls. I didn't see YouTube as a business until I stepped into those walls. I didn't see Twitter, podcasting, and all this stuff as a business until I stepped into those walls. And I saw this guy doing it firsthand, where he had his Ask Gary V YouTube show. He had, you know, this whatever. He had like all these different series where he was doing all these different interviews and doing all these different shows. And just seeing how he operated day to day with the confidence that he had, it really inspired me. Like, shit, like maybe I got to start like doing this stuff too. Maybe I want to start a podcast, and like, you know, if all I can talk about is what I've got going on, then I'm going to interview paintball players and just kind of like see how this thing goes. Yeah. So I took the podcasting more seriously, if not as serious as I took the pro paintball at the time. Like I remember like calling the guys before, like making sure I had all the notes on them beforehand, you know, making sure all the audio equipment technically was down. I think I did like a couple YouTube episodes too, where I like got in front of the camera and like did like the full on interview like that as well. And I was teaching myself like Adobe Premiere. I was teaching myself GarageBand audio and like doing all the different edits. And it was, just a whole nother experience for me, like trying to tap into that or trying to do that. But I definitely had a lot of fun doing those podcasts. And I would say about the first 24...
I love them. I was a big fan, huge fan.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't know if the audio was great. You know, I'm sure it could definitely be better if I could go back and do it again. But I definitely enjoyed doing those interviews with the paintball guys that I did.
No, dude, it was about the content. Like I was a paintballer. Like there was literally like, before, you know, like there's Carl's and there's a couple others out there, but there's nobody telling paintball stories out there. Like it just didn't exist. So the fact that you were just out there doing it was just like amazing to me. I remember soaking it all in.
Yeah.
I remember being upset when you stopped doing it. Like I remember you used to do it, I think like once a week or once in a bit. I remember when I stopped seeing it, I was like, oh man, kind of.
And it's a grind to have those out once a week. It's a grind to be able to schedule people. It's a grind to edit those episodes. You know, I'm sure that you guys know this now. Like it's like
we do 2 a week, dude. It's fucking a grind, dude.
There you go. Like it's a grind. It's like a full-time gig almost. And like, you know, you guys read out a couple advertisements beforehand, but you know, you're not necessarily rolling in the bank. You know, this is a passion project that you're doing. And that's what it takes to do this stuff. There's just like no way around it.
No, for sure. Like we do it because, like you said, like we love it. Like I love talking to people like you, and I love giving paintballers like the platform to tell their story. So hopefully at some point in time, and like, you know, when they're done playing or when someone has a question, be like, oh, so when did you start? Be like, yo, check it out on Overshot, bro. I told my whole story. You get to hear everything from, you know, and they have something to show for that.
So I'd like just to know a little more a bit about both of you guys, because I definitely feel like I've been chopping it up and chatting all these different years that I played paintball and whatnot. But you know, if this is my first time meeting you guys, I'd love to know a little bit more about you. Maybe we can dip back into some of the stuff that I'm up to currently in life past paintball.
Yeah, no, sure. So if you want, like, so I started playing in 14, like a lot, like. So I played a birthday party once when I was younger with my brother, but at the time I was in high school, I was a wrestler. I also played in a band. So like, I was like, oh, this is fun, but it's not really my thing. Flash forward, you know, a couple years later in life, I'm out of high school, but like my band doesn't play anymore. I'm not doing sports anymore. Kind of actually like a little low in life. And my brother's like, yo, I'm going to these big games, dude. Like, you should come and try paintball again. Come and do that. I was like, all right, I'll go. We go. Best time of my life. I had a ball, dude. We were lighting people up. And then I was hooked, dude. That was it. So we start, you know, balling out, playing these big games. And I'm talking like, not just every once in a while. Like my brother and I were traveling to Pennsylvania. Like we're driving to go play these big games. I run into this clown over here. And, you know, we start, and he's like, yo, you're actually like not a half bad player, because playing these like scenario games, I got up with Pete Utching, who played all these scenarios, and I saw him and I was like, he's good. I want to look exactly like how him when I play. So I just started following him. I'd follow him.
A former pro player playing in the woods, dude. You're like,
yeah. And
damn, so the whole time from the Iron Man back, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. But just like how he would stand and everything. And so he's like, yo, you're not bad. I'm like, oh, thanks, dude. Play a woods ball tournament. Get second place. We only got second place because we didn't know rules. My brother left his gun behind, grabs the flag. You're eliminated. We get second. But we're like,
shit, talked him pretty much every day, dude. Called him an idiot for like his whole life.
For years.
Like, called him up and be like, hey, dude, you remember when you almost won that tournament, but your brother left his gun behind to go run the flag? And it was like an old set, you know, it's like the old school center flag type of thing going on. So, you know, I was kind of running those tournaments and I saw him there. So, you know, fast forward a bit, he was begging me to start a podcast for like a long time. I went to a networking
event. I'm a huge podcast fan. I listen like all the time, all day, every day.
Nice.
Yes.
So John, you took him under your wing.
Pretty much. Dude.
There you
go. Pretty much, dude. He still points me to this day. I mean, still a great friend of mine to this day, dude. But yeah, I mean, we eventually started this podcast. You know, I went to a networking event type of deal, and this guy was like, yeah, like, you know, I was looking at it. I was like, all right, I'll come back. I'll probably just buy studio time. We'll do a podcast or two or whatever. And then I get on his podcast, and he kind of like, you know, we were talking about the Long Island paintball scene. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of dead recently. Like, we drive to Jersey. Like, if you really want to be good, you got to leave Long Island. Like, Cousins has a field, but high velocity. I mean, now High Velocity Outdoor has a field, an airball field, like for the first time in God knows how long. I think like 10 years. But you know, he kind of challenged me. He was like, well, you should be, you know, like the savior of Long Island paintball, or you should be the guy. And I'm like, at that point, I was like done. I was like, I'm not dealing with any of these fields. Like, I'm just going to do my thing. Like, I'm done. Well, I'm driving in New Jersey. I'll play or whatever. And then again, another guy hits me up. He's like, yeah, we need to get the Long Island speedball scene going. And I'm like, all right, I'll just make like a speedball group on Facebook. So then, you know, this was right before COVID happens. We start the podcast, you know, right before COVID, you know, we're like, all right, we'll have he's like, we're going to have a super scrimmage. That's what we're calling it, super scrimmage. And we're going to invite it out. You know, we're going to make sure my mom's going to come and make egg sandwiches and the whole 9 yards. So we go, and like 70 people show up to this thing. 70 people, dude. And I'm like, dude, I haven't seen 70 people at a speedball field since Meadowlands closed back in the day. I'm like, 70 people at a Long Island field, like OG dudes are coming
practice.
out.
It was a hot practice.
Nice.
Dudes are coming out that I haven't seen. You know what I mean? I think O'Gara was even, like Conklin was out there. I think came out. Like all these dudes that I haven't seen in fucking years are coming out and playing. And then, whatever, COVID hits. But, when I'm doing, I started in the woods, ended up, playing on some woods ball teams and, traveling. I played in Cancun. I haven't played in Europe or anything, but I was mostly playing woods ball tournaments, Cancun, Ecuador, Costa Rica. So, I mean, those are some of the better. I think those are the best events. I don't play as much as I used to, but like if someone called me up and was like, "Yo, we're playing," I think they're doing a woods ball tournament in Croatia. Like I haven't been on the Master Blasters in a long time, and they're always trying to get me back or whatever. And I'm just like, dude, if you guys are going to Croatia, I'll throw the jersey back on.
Yeah.
But just for Croatia, those tournaments, because it's more about, to me, like experiencing those other locations. And then when we go to those, it's not staying at the 5-star resort, like when you go to these places and you don't leave the confines of the thing. That's not traveling, dude. You got to go, salt of the earth type of people. You're going on the banana truck up to the field or whatever may have you. You're eating in somebody's house. You're riding the donkeys down the volcano or whatever. So those are kind of, the paintball trips that I would like to take.
Hell yeah. And it's cool that paintball can take you around the world.
No, dude, it definitely is. Like, that's something I'm looking forward to. Like, I know a big bucket list for me is London, man. I want to go to one of these games in London.
Oh, I mean, I played a tournament in London in 2017. Great run tournament. And it's a very cool place too. I feel like Europe's one of those places where if like you go to a city like London, you almost want to like pack in a couple extra weeks there so you can go see a lot of the stuff. It's like kind of the Northeast. Like you've got so many different states that you can state hop, go country hop, and go hit some of all those different countries while you're out there.
Now I'm a big believer in that. Take as many days as you can and try and just experience what you can. But as we're talking about traveling, like what was what was your favorite place to travel to for paintball?
Travel for paintball. No, in general, that's a different story. But for paintball, the best tournament that I ever had, so I guess I'll include this with the travel. We had a tournament in Paris. This was in the end of 2015. And right before that, so was this 2015? No, that was 17. So actually, yeah, this was 15, I think. So the best experience that I had in an overseas tournament, I actually ended up, I played in one of those one-on-one tournaments where the winner gets €1,000. It's 64 guys total. I actually ended up making it to the final in that tournament against Kevin Coombe, and we ended up splitting the money. But he beat me 2 out of 1, and I think like right before the last point that we played in the semifinal, I was going up against this guy, and this was back like in front of the huge grandstands. And I remember it was like if you ran out of time, no one won the point. So it was like 10 seconds left in our one-on-one, and we're both looking at each other from different sides of the field. This guy's on the D side and I'm on the snake side. And instead of like pulling up and shooting each other, I think I just had the idea to go and run for the buzzer. And he saw me too. And he was like running for the buzzer also on the other side of the field. I ended up diving over the start box, hitting the buzzer, feet like flared above me. And the crowd's like, oh shit. I ended up making it to the final in that situation. And we ended up winning that tournament in Paris. So that was a really good experience for me, just like going to Paris. But I would say world-wise, the coolest country that I've been to is Japan. I really love Japan as a country. It's a very clean place. The technology is amazing. The train system that they have is gnarly. And if anyone ever gets out to going there, there's a town called Nagano. It's spelled Nagano. They hosted the Olympics there, I think, back in the 90s for winter sports. But they have this one place. It's called the Snow Monkey Forest. And if you can make it to the top of the Snow Monkey Forest, this is something that I saw like on the Travel Channel as a kid. But there's legitimately this town of snow monkeys that coexist there amongst the locals. And there's these natural hot spring bathing baths that the monkeys will go in and like bathe in, like just like totally normal. And you can get a bathing suit and get on and like go inside this hot spring and be chilling next to a monkey. I think that was probably like the coolest experience that I've ever that I've ever had
Dude,
around the world.
sick. That's the sickest thing I've ever heard.
You said this on a podcast, dude, because I think I remember you talking about this.
Yeah.
I mean, did you get through somewhere, or like did like go around somewhere to get into the spot?
Yeah. So we get to the top of this mountain. I was with two buddies of mine. And like, I didn't know what I was getting into. No one spoke a lick of English in this situation.
Yeah.
All I could hold on to was like this Nat Geo like dream that I had of these people in a commercial with their eyes closed and these snow monkeys like just hanging out and bathing with them. So I'm like, all right, I want this. Like, we got to go try to do this.
Right.
So it's kind of like metaphorical of life too, about like taking the path less traveled. But everyone like, and this was kind of early that we were there, was going up the hill to go look at maybe like 30 or 50 of these things that were at this one hot spring, and everyone was taking pictures of them. But if you look to the left of us, going down the stream, there was this bridge. So we decided to make a left where no one else is going, walk over the bridge, and stumble across this little like hostel, this random hostel that was there. And we're kind of peeking around. Like, we didn't even know if there was like a hostess there. And like figuring out like, how do we, get this like private hot spring, or like get this private experience. Right. And the guy just like looked at us, and I think he was like, I don't even know how much yen it was, like 20 yen or something like that. And it ended up being like $5 US dollars. Yeah. We're like, all right, sure. Like, here you go. Like $5 USD. Like, well, I guess we're cruising through here. He gave us our own room. He gave us some sandals. And this was early in the morning. And so we're walking out, and it was literally like I was walking into my dream. Like, there was like 10 monkeys there, like a mother, like just like rubbing and like working and massaging her son. And I remember like one of my buddies was like, it's probably not smart to make eye contact with them because it will threaten them. So I was like, all right, like just totally like look straight, like nothing's going on, walking in this hot spring, like sit down, like chill. And like, they were totally cool with it. Like, the monkeys were just hanging around us, and we were like, wow, we are just lounging in Nagano, Japan right now. And then all the tourists that were going up towards like the main attraction area, all like these different people were like taking pictures of us, like as if we like knew what we were doing, and we were all like, "Hey, like what's up? Yeah, we're having a good time." That was a cool experience travel wise. Yeah, if you ever go to Japan, Tokyo is the major city. Definitely going to want to go there. Shibuya is the party town there. That's definitely worth seeing post COVID. Roppongi is a cool area there. Nagano is more of like the snow monkey thing. So if you take like one of the bullet trains, you get there. And then Kyoto is also another city there. That's their Emerald City. So you see like a lot of like holy shit experience, especially being in another country like that, where all the architecture is different, all of the characters are different, and like you're seeing stuff that just looks so not like, in the United States. Real culture shock. That's what I experienced in Kyoto. It was a beautiful, beautiful city with a ton of history. All of those like, I don't know how to explain the building shapes, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Like the last samurai, like like the traditional Japanese culture. Go to Kyoto, and you'll get a cool experience there.
Dude, that's awesome. That's an awesome little bit for our listeners. But like you're saying, so go into what you do now.
Yep. So in May of 2018, I'm someone who like I discovered paintball on ESPN back in 2006. So not only have I always been in love with paintball, the sport, and playing it, I've been in love with the NFL too, and I love professional football, and I love following it as a fan. Everyone's into different stuff. Some people can be into stocks, and they tune into like the CSNBC every day and follow how that goes. Other people can be into other things, but I'm into sports, like, and I enjoy debating, and I enjoy watching all the different sports debate shows that are on ESPN. So it's very interesting to me.
Me too.
So
I listen to all that shit.
Yeah. Like, do you listen to First Take in the morning? Like Stephen A, Max Kellerman? Yeah. Like, I find that very entertaining. This guys like debating sports and arguing about them. So anyway, I felt like that was something that I wanted to try to pursue. Mm-hmm. And I ended up, my senior year of college, I ended up getting a DM from a guy that worked at ESPN in Los Angeles. I was going to school in San Diego at the time. And he was saying like, hey man, you work for Gary Vee. I do a podcast that's called Hustle Like Gary Vee. yeah, I did an internship with him last summer. It was a great experience. I'd love to get to know you. So I took the initiative, though, kind of the same thing with the internship that I had with Gary Vee. I took the initiative to say, hey man, like I'd love to shadow you one day if the opportunity presented itself. Right. And he's like, yeah, like let me try to clear my manager or my boss. Let me see if I can. So I ended up going up to the LA ESPN studios in 2018. This had to be like around March. I was graduating in May, and I ended up shadowing him for the day. So like totally seeing them on Sports Nation. And that's a show that I watch like every day at home, and like being on a TV set and like seeing that, I thought that was like pretty gnarly behind the scenes. And
dude, that's sick. I watch Sports Nation, dude. That's fucking sick.
Yeah. You got like LZ, Marcellus, Michelle. Like, Michelle, I was totally like on the back of the set looking at them. I got to see like the Sports Center set. A thing that's funny, a quick trick that I'll let you know, like sometimes you see these people, like they're in like the suit, right? And they're like talking, and you see the background behind me and it looks like it's a city. Yeah. It's really like a curtain of LA or a curtain of New York that they're just sitting in front of. And it looks like they're outside, but really they're just in like a small room, like a production studio. And a lot of the sets are freezing cold. I don't know if that's like an interesting thing, but a lot of the sets are like, they're freezing cold. So I guess that makes sense that no one's sweating on TV. I've had an issue before of like having a podcast where I was like sweating on the set. I thought that was very annoying.
No, dude, there's been times during this podcast where I'm like, yo, keep talking. I'm sorry, but I've got to take off my sweatshirt because I'm fucking dying over here.
Yeah, I know. So it's definitely helpful to be called on a studio. But let's see. So I ended up somehow getting involved with his marketing manager. He ended up moving on from the company, but I got an interview, and kind of same thing with anything in life. You just take chances, always show up, always be present, and just go after something. Go after the next opportunity that it presents yourself. Bring your best self, bring good energy, and kind of let the cards fall where they may. So I ended up landing like a summer position there that I had. And this was my first position in the real world, like past like paintball or working or anything like that. Kind of same thing as VaynerMedia, like seeing a business operate at a high level. I was being exposed to more things. I was helping them like run their social media, like Twitter. So I covered their their morning radio show, helped them with that. So getting out like all different live updates and tweets for Twitter, getting out Instagram stories for them, Instagram posting, things like that as well. Doing, let's see, like copy is like really important at that level, because when you're breaking like live news, spell checking is really important. So like having the fear of spell checking like every single word that you're putting out, but it's all gotta be perfect, and it's all gotta go out like at a fast time. So you're reading, you're listening, and you're processing at a fast speed. So I ended up having that experience in the sports world, which, by the way, I wish paintball can crack into that. I don't know if it will ever crack into that again, but I always have those hopes for paintball that somehow, some way it can make it back to that, because those people are the key that hold a lot of the viewership within sports, like whatever it is that you're trying to get into. So I think paintball could definitely greatly benefit from partnering with some of these major sports broadcasters. So anyway, that went on for me for about 3 months. I did that position. And then past that, I ended up starting my own company. And that's kind of where I've been in the last, I would say, 2.5 years of my life, from the end of 2018 towards the end of 2020 now. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. So I'll give you some details about that. So one thing I was talking about, like entrepreneurial aspirations earlier, that I've my senior year of college was working on, and seeing different people sell products and be successful with them, is there's something known as Amazon FBA. So Amazon FBA means fulfillment by Amazon. So it's basically the practice of getting products overseas on websites like Alibaba and selling them on the Amazon platform and making a markup on this. And so you've got, like, for anything that you type in on Amazon now, like let's say you typed in micro steam bags, or you typed in like Lego tape, or you typed in just anything in general, you're going to find a ton of different brands selling these different products. And all of those different brands are competing against each other. And this whole system is weighed, and and the hierarchy is all like how many reviews that you have for the product, or what's the reception of it. And the consumer really drives how well your product performs, because Amazon's algorithm is going to favor that product that's getting the most traction on it. Kind of like, like podcast views, right? Like YouTube pays people that get a certain amount of views, right? Like they're performing at a certain level. They incentivize you to do that, right? So I was just very interested in trying to sell an Amazon product. One product that I came across that was doing really well within this space was supplements for pets. There was like a big boom in this market that I saw a niche for. And one item in particular was hemp seed oil products for pets that were doing really well. And this discovered me to the market of CBD in general, right? So you've got CBD for humans, which like wasn't really a thing when I was in high school. You know, like we dabble with THC here and there. And, you know, I'm sure that whole front of like legalization for those products. But for hemp derived, because in 2018, the federal government legalized hemp. So anything that comes from hemp and doesn't have, like, let's say less than 1% of THC is totally cool. So you'll find these products in CVS, you'll find them in Whole Foods, like you'll find any CBD product there as long as it doesn't have THC in it and as long as it's hemp derived. Right. So I was exposed to not only the CBD market, but a niche within that, which was the pet CBD market. So within all the things that I learned from, like, let's say VaynerMedia, ESPN, paintball, marketing, building a brand, building a company, I knew that I could build this brand. I don't want to be like generic, like some of these products. I want to build a brand. I'm going to build it through the social media spaces that I'm familiar with, like Instagram. I've got the goal to sell these products on Amazon as well. I want the experience of creating a Shopify website, doing my own web store. And I want to be able to sell products and just totally dive into a new industry and dive into a new market and see what comes from it. Right. So not only did I want to target dogs for these supplements, I wanted to target cats too. And so my sister ended up helping me come up with the name Zen Dogs and Cool Cats. So if you go on Instagram now and you're listening.
That's a good name.
Yeah. And you type in Zen Dogs and Cool Cats on Instagram, you'll find kind of what I've been up to for the last 2.5 years. I've been low key about it. It's nothing that I really like. I've shared it a couple times, but I'm not like doing a podcast for it. I'm not doing all of these things. Because for me right now, I feel like I'm in a building phase. Yeah. And when I get to that level of where I want to be, then I feel like I can come back and start talking about it a little bit. But I feel like right now I'm just kind of in a focused building phase. And when it's time to share the knowledge that I've learned, I can share the knowledge that I've learned. So this is a unique opportunity for me right now just to be talking about it. But this opportunity for me has created the experience for me to build my own business, to sell my own products. And so remember you talked about traveling, right? That's a big thing we enjoy about paintball, because paintball gives us the opportunity to go to places we've never been before. Some of the best sellers of these products that I do around the country are pet groomers, they're pet daycare locations, and boutiques. All of these different places, kind of like a locally owned paintball field, have individual store owners that will give you an opportunity to sell your product on their shelves, and you don't have to go through all the corporate bullshit that if you wanted to get into like a Petco or you wanted to get into like a major market, that a lot of these people have to go through a lot of work to get their product on the shelves. So after I made my first sale in LA to a local daycare, and then I made I live in Los Angeles now. I live in Westwood by UCLA, which is the college. After I had my second sale to a groomer, I said, holy shit, like I've got something going on here. These store owners can use these products. And I'm using Amazon as a basis to see the data here that there's really a huge demand for these products. And I'm seeing this in the digital space. So maybe I can apply this to the retail mom and pop area. Right. And it's been like a whole, entrepreneurial endeavor for me then, where I'm selling my product in about 30 states now. Hell to about 250 retail locations. I'm doing sales on zendogsandcoolcats.com, shopzendogs.com at a high level. I've got products on Amazon that are doing well too. And I'm working with an intern right now. She's helping run my social media. So I haven't looked back, and I've still been pursuing this thing, and I've been learning a lot for it. So if we're talking like PSP and we're talking like the pro ranks or whatever, I think one day I maybe have a goal to go on a show like Shark Tank and pitch the brand.
Dude, that would be amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. So that's the goal for me right now.
No, dude, that's so sick. And I'm so happy that like you're grinding, staying hard. Like I got a dog and she's on supplements, so I'm definitely gonna check you guys out and probably spend some money and get her something. But
so you have a dog. What kind of dog do you have?
She's a red bone coonhound. She's like a hound.
How old?
Like a hound. She's 11 now.
Okay. Old pup.
Yeah, she's getting old. So we have her on like a joint medication for her hips and stuff. So like she could stay loose or whatever.
So what I see with pets is I just see there's a huge market there. And I think it's like hasn't even fully tapped its full potential. And I think humans care for their pets almost more than they care for themselves. Oh, and yeah. Just right. And like, you don't like, I've got a dog now too. And, I had a dog in high school as well, but I don't even think twice about spending some of the stuff that I spend for him that I would think about myself, because his happiness brings me so much happiness, and he wants nothing other than for me to be happy. So I'm just like totally cool, like, spending money on him. Just like I'm sure like if you're a father, you're, buying your kid a paintball gun, like, and it costs a fuck ton of money, it's still going to bring you like a bunch of joy to get it. Right. So like, I see there's a big potential there for pets. And I think with the COVID thing now too, everyone's like gotten a pet almost. So I only see like that industry and that market growing. So who knows, maybe it'll be a long-term thing.
No, and I think it's going to boom too. Cause like another thing I see is like a lot of people my age, and I'm just going to be straight up like, sorry, mom and dad, but like, we don't really want kids. Like, we don't want that tied down. Like, I want to be able to travel and stuff if I want to, but what comes with not having kids is a lot of fucking dogs and cats.
Yep.
So I think it's
just as good, if not better.
Just as good, if not better. And there's so much easier to take care of. But going to that, I think there's going to be a lot of rise of, like you said, medications, because anything for my girl. If she needs it, I'm buying it.
Right. Yeah, and people like it's weird, the whole CBD thing. Like, it's one thing for human, pets can really benefit from it too. And I think it was like a market that no one knew was really going to take off, but it ended up really taking off because you've got a lot of pets with stress and anxiety issues, separation anxiety when owners leave the home, even situationally like travel, grooming, all these different things. You don't want to have to like give a pet a prescription medication. In this case, you want to be able to use a natural remedy. So I think there's a big push too for people wanting to use natural remedies, but they don't want to get their pets high. So like CBD accomplishes a lot of this for them.
Right. No, right. All right, cool. So I only have one more question, Waldo. If you got anything else, I'll let you go now. All right, cool. Perfect. So my last thing is, you may not even know, this may be a quick one, but I don't know if you're still in the loop, but can you give us any insight of maybe what's going to go on for Uprising in the upcoming season?
Interesting. Well, I know they didn't play World Cup because of COVID. Okay. I think they take it pretty seriously. So they didn't want to make the trip due to COVID. So I'm not sure if they're going to be playing the 2021 season. If I had to guess, they will, though. I know a lot of those guys there that they're core to playing paintball, and they're definitely good enough to be playing at the pro level. So I don't think I don't see them falling off.
That you've heard about that they're picking up, anything like that?
No, not thus far. I know they picked up Tim Brusselback in the offseason to play Snake from Impact, but other than that, I'm not too in the loop. I would say just be worried. Like, if they ever get Matty Ulsvik to come back, he's a real solid player.
Be worried.
Yeah. He's a good player. So he comes in and out of playing with them, but anytime he's around, and then maybe if they get Nate Schrader to come back, he's playing on Infamous. He's a dangerous player, and they're fully capable of doing it as long as they put their minds to it.
No, they always do well. But, I had to ask, if you had any, breaking news that I had to put across the bottom. Breaking news.
No, I got no news to break for you, but I still stay up to date with like the NXL posts that go on from here to there. One thing that I've seen recently is I saw TJ Danner go to X Factor, and I saw Matt Jackson go to Impact.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that tells me that maybe AC Dallas is kind of like crumbling. I don't know.
And for what I heard, there's more moves that are happening. They just can't say them yet. That's what I keep hearing too.
Every offseason moves are going to happen. Everyone's got different, agendas that they're trying to go towards. Some people want to play with their friends. Some people want to go earn a contract for themselves. You're always going to get a ton of movement in the offseason. I think that's good though. It makes for
any sport
exciting. Yeah, it's cool, and it kind of keeps the hype going. The offseason always seems long, but March is right around the corner. February is right around the corner. It'll come here in no time. So what kind of do you guys have? Are you playing indoors in the off season now? You said it's snowing there.
Yeah, it's snowing pretty bad right now. I mean, no, we don't have an indoor here anymore.
You're in Long Island now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. And so does High Velocity Paintball, do they still have their indoor field that you can play at?
COVID killed that.
Yeah. Oh man, that's tough.
Yeah,
James, the field owner there?
Yes, we do.
James
Waldo
is the
knows
man,
him quite
dude.
well. Yeah.
He's a great guy. Great guy. What about
we're trying
Andy
to get him
Hahn?
on. We're trying to get him on. Yeah, we know Andy.
Yeah, he's a great guy too. Some good friends of mine out there.
Yeah, man, we're trying to get James on the podcast. We got to give him to get some free time and get on here.
Good. Get a business owner's perspective of paintball. He's been running that High Velocity with his dad, Stan, I think is his name, for a long time.
Yeah, dude, I'd love to get the field owner's perspective, especially now with COVID and everything. They have really good insights. So
where do you guys see paintball, I guess, going as a sport? Do you think it's reached its pinnacle? Do you think its pinnacle was in the past? Do you think it's still growing? Do you see remember I talked about the national broadcast of it? Do you see it needing to be a different style format in order to break through that barrier? What do you guys think about that?
If you want, I'll go first. I think split deck needs to go because there's not enough explanation of what's going on. I think to get the average Joe Schmo involved. I think one of the big reasons that football and basketball and other sports are so big is because anyone can tune in, and during the off time, they're talking about so much stuff. So you're kind of finding out what's going on. With paintball, so the one team is off, the next team is on. No one's really explaining. It's like, what just happened? Like Infamous and this team is walking off, and these other two teams are walking up. But what happened? Like, who won the last point? But wait, wasn't there a penalty? Like, there's no one. There's not enough time for the commentators to explain it because, like I said, the next 2 minutes, the next team is walking on, and that buzzer's going off in 2 minutes. So I think if they got rid of split tech and really just broke it down more, I think it would be more palatable for people who don't know.
All right. So one thing that those sports all have in common that paintball doesn't have in common is a focal point.
So
we're talking about football, we got one ball. Basketball, you got one ball. Golf, you've got one ball that's going in a hole.
Anything, tennis,
soccer, you've got one ball that's going to net. Tennis has two players, so it's 1-on-1 or 2-on-2, but it still has one ball. And everyone can follow that. Do you think it's too confusing for the naked eye to understand 5 guys doing 5 different things at different timing? What do you think about that?
I think it's not easy, which is, like I said, why the broadcasters need to have more time to explain what's going on. I think what's hard too is because the guns are shooting so fast, you don't really see anything coming out the barrel. You just see a guy pointing a gun at somebody,
right?
And then a dude walking off.
Right.
Yo, you want me to drop a bomb on you, dude, real quick?
There you go. Blow my mind.
Catch it.
Not maybe a bomb, but maybe. So I was listening to Marcelo's podcast, Marcelo and Tyler, and they were talking to Eric Crandall, and paintball historically on TV, and I don't know and they didn't know this, Marcelo and Tyler, has done better than anything else in that time slot over the history of the ESPN in Miami, of the Smart Parts Championships, of any of those events. Paintball has rated higher than anything in those areas. What killed it was when they had that Miami championship for $50,000, Volt Energy Drink was sponsoring
I remember that
webcast or whatever you have when it was on ESPN3 or whatever it was on, right? And at the same time, later on, Adam Gardner did the ESPN championship inside Mohegan Sun. And
remember that? 06.
Instead of the paintball, NPPL didn't pay for it, they sold advertising spots or Volt paid for it, right? So with ESPN, Adam Gardner now paid for it. And I think what happened there was now, ESPN now is getting paid directly from paintball $1 million, which over the course, you can't do that long term. You can't be giving ESPN $1 million versus, Volt energy drink sponsoring it or anything like that. So I know, and that's just a little bit that I got from that interview that,
so it's a financial
shout out,
thing.
All love to Marcel and Tyler's podcast, Play the Game with Eric Grant.
So it's a financial thing. You got to have the money in order to pay the network to get your airtime.
That's what they always say. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like there's ways to make that money. And maybe, I don't know. I'm like a D4 kid. Like, you know what I mean? I just know because I'm just a player. But I just feel like there's ways to make money to make that a thing, Yeah,
well, it's not cheap, that's for sure. And then you got to ask yourself, like, is the sport generating enough revenue in order to allocate that budget, for like a marketing purpose? But who knows? Like maybe, if it did get national exposure continuously, it could draw more kids in like myself. Like I wouldn't have known what it was until I tuned into the TV that day. And then like when you're talking about the local level, like getting out there and starting, there's a certain price tag that you have to pay to play paintball. Whereas you just get a basketball, you're in the inner city or like all these different areas, you go out there and shoot some hoops. Next thing you know, like your school has a team that you can play on, so you can kind of come up through with those ranks. And then if you go to university, most all those universities consistently have the same sports, right? And then if maybe you can make it to like that next level, then there's real money that these sports are producing, which allows them to continue to have those different TV contracts. Because a lot of the money that these owners get, I think it's the broadcast companies have to pay these teams in order to, like, that's where they make a lot of their money, is from the TV contracts.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
so anyway,
sports.
Yeah, I've got all the hopes in the world for it, though. I don't think Go Sports is doing a bad job per se, but it all seems like a pretty like online thing. It takes a lot of money to get to crack into that next level.
Dude, 100%. That's why I think everybody wants it to be better, but like I'm not gonna really like shit on Go Sports because they're the only person doing it. Like, why are we gonna shit on them? And in the grand scheme of things, like, bro, $10 a month is nothing. Like, bro, I have Amazon. I got like 10 other subscriptions that are also $10 a month.
Right.
Like, is it really that big
a
deal?
No problem. Yeah. What? So, so again, you said format. So you think that the 5-on-5 can work continually, or do you think it would need to be like, let's say like 3-on-3 or 1-on-1?
The thing is, that is a good question. That I don't know. I would love to see the numbers that the Ultimate Shootouts and those things are doing, because that could also be a thing.
They're trying new things, right?
Right. And I would love to see those viewership numbers. Like, I know I watch, but like, are non-paintball diehards watching? Because that's the really people are trying to pull in. Like, if you paintball, you're going to watch. Like, you're not the one that they're trying to advertise to. They're trying to advertise to me. Like, I'm going to watch the Ultimate. Right, like I'm gonna watch it regardless because I love paintball. But is it pulling in those new people? I don't know. Like I would like to, I would like to say yeah, but I don't know. So if I could see the numbers from that and then be like, okay, well that's drawing numbers, so then less people is more. So maybe
I got my idea, dude, and we'll break it out here, dude. We're gonna do magazine guns only. Pro players in a city environment with like cable cam, whatever you want to call it, cable cams going around, like GoPros where they can like switch to people.
Like Call of Duty almost.
Yeah, like Call of Duty. So like the average person is like tuning in. They're like, "What the hell is this?" They're like, "Oh, this is like Call of Duty." So like the average person is like, "Oh, that's sick." the guns are reload magazines. Like, I mean, dude, you take athletic people, whether, you know, you make it cool, they slide across the hood of a car or something. I think that, I don't know. I don't know where I heard it. I definitely stole it from somebody. And if you're out there, you know, hit us up. I'll try to, you know, I give you it. But I mean, I thought that was, you know, not a bad idea either. I mean, especially with, like, you know, you're watching people play video games and, you know, over the shoulder or anything like that. I think the technology's getting to a place where it's like, some of that needs to be incorporated a little bit more. I like, kind of like you were saying with the Ultimate Shootout, like, you know, they were mic'd up and they were talking smack to each other. You know, I kind of like that too, you know, kind of bringing in like, kind of like that UFC, like that fighter type of thing. You know what I mean? But also, you know, you don't want it to go too much like that Pro Invitational where they had the view of the pits and then the guy from Aftermath shoved man or whatever he did, man. So, I mean, you know, you don't see that in football. You know they're talking shit to each other, but like they don't mic them up and you hear them talking shit to each other either, though.
Yeah, they don't release that shit.
Well, it's all entertaining, and I think building up the characters helps too. Creates the drama within it. That's a good idea, though. You know, I don't know where it's going to go. I guess time will tell. But maybe like even the POV camera thing too. You're right. Like people can understand that better, maybe. Right. I'll let you guys know that I'll always be on the side of I like jerseys. Like I like football. I like basketball. I like that side thing. So that's why speedball has always appealed to me, because it felt like I was playing a sport almost. So I'm attracted to that personally. But I know woods ball definitely has its place. Scenario has its place. And even with what you're talking about there to appeal to like a larger audience, that has its place. Like that shooter cam kind of like realm and mentality. I think that definitely has its place too. So I guess time will tell. You know, we'll see what happens with the sport. One last interesting idea that I wanted to present to you, because I'm just thinking about it now. You were talking about how the barrel cam, like you can't even see the balls going out, right?
Right.
Like because they're moving so fast and because it's in broad daylight too.
Right.
Have you ever seen the movie Tron Legacy?
Yeah.
In the 2010 Disney movie.
Yep.
Do you remember the disc war scene that they have there? Where they've got like, they're all like lit up and they've got this disc that they take out and like they throw it together, like do whatever they do. Right. I've always like visualized it and I'm obsessed with that movie. But like, what if in the future one day, like, and that's like crazy elevated stage that like people are playing on, they're wearing the same technology that they're wearing in Tron, where they're like totally lit up. So you can see, like, as the viewer, like think about not just sitting at ground level of it. Think about watching it from a bird's eye view and you're looking down on these guys and they're all wearing this like lit up material. So you kind of like Tetris, but like you can, or Pac-Man, you can follow where the guy's going because you can see it. And if the opponents, like let's say one person is wearing, the villains in that movie, they're wearing orange, right? And then these guys are wearing blue. It's easy to track and to navigate where they're going and what they're doing. So you can kind of see it because it is this lit up technology, but also the paint itself. Because if like the paint was that glow in the dark or that lit thing too, you can kind of see the stream traveling in a way that you can't see in broad daylight. I've thought that was like a futuristic way of looking at paintball that could be pretty cool. But Tron is my inspiration for that, and the Disc Wars would be my inspiration for that. I'm not saying it's going to happen right now, but if ever it got to that level one day, I think that would be a model to aspire towards.
Right. And I'm just the idea, man. Like, I don't know the logistics behind trying to make like the paintballs easier to travel, but I just think in general, if we're trying to get people that don't really play like, or don't even know anything about paintball to follow it, like that's something that has to change.
Yeah, and even like I'm thinking of Call of Duty now too. Like when you get a kill, it's like the plus 150 comes up on the screen, or like something good happened, right? There was something that indicated a point, went up, or like a scoreboard. And a lot of this
Right.
stuff's like happening in real time. So it's making it easier for the consumer or the audience to understand, like, something just happened, something just happened, something just happened, something just happened. The score is running up, the score is running up. I'm following how this is going. I kind of like see everything that's going on. I'm sure this is all things that they're going to have to tweak out and figure out as they move forward. But I don't see the sport going anywhere. I think it's got got deep roots, and hopefully it's still on the up.
Yeah, no, I think it is. And from what especially after COVID, like, we've spoken to like the field owners of High Vine Cousins and the people that are there, and they say that it's business. I mean, is booming. Like, I helped Cousins out. I mean, time kind of melts sometimes, probably like a month or two ago now, but I remember like helping, and I remember them on the phone going, "Hey, listen, I'm sorry we can't take your party because we sold out. Like, every rental gun we have is out right now. We can't take on any more parties." And I was like, okay, so people are balling. People are out here balling.
And that's where it starts for people. It starts with the birthday parties, and next thing you know, someone's taking them under their wing and they're doing Monday night power sessions.
No, dude, for sure. So I guess the last thing I want to ask is, so what do you think about the shit talk and being like a guy's into sports? Like, some people are like, oh, the NYX guys, they're always talking shit, blah, blah, blah. It's not good for the sport. I'm under the firm belief that it actually is very good for the sport.
Oh, look at the UFC. It sells.
Dude, right? Like,
yeah, you've got to have shit talking. But if you're those guys doing all the shit talking and you're losing, you're just kind of like sitting on your own words, like you want to be able to back it up.
Yeah,
but it's
exactly.
great. It's great for the sport. And I think everything has its place. Not every team is going to be like rah, get up, fuck these guys.
Right.
Some people are just like quiet people. But if you go out there on the field and you let the scoreboard do the talking, I think that'll speak enough.
No, dude, like a big thing I want to like kind of compare it to is like when Khabib was fighting Conor McGregor. It's got him down on the ground, pounding. Look, who talk now, now, whap, now, whap. Like, even you could still bring the smoke. It still is entertaining.
He's an entertainer, man.
Oh,
and like, you want to watch a fight like that because of a character like that. And I think that's what they've dabbled with and tried to do a little bit, like in this one-on-one tournaments that they're doing, the HK1 or the Ultimate Shootout, is build these character storylines, build up the hype, build up the shit talking, and then finally put out the product. But you need to have that hype in order to gain the viewership before the actual event happens, or it's just people randomly tuning into it. Like, I know the next UFC fight that's going to happen in January because they're consistently promoting it. They're consistently right. And that's a big part of the dollars that they make is, can they just promote? Can they hype? Can they gain the viewership? And then finally, when it's time to sell their product, they can have a successful event from all of the stuff that goes into it beforehand.
No, you're right. Like, you're so right. We got to step it up, man, Waldo. We got to make sure we hype up all these NXL events, man.
No, bro, we're not hyping up NXL, dude. What are you? I run a league, dude. You're not gonna hype up my league, dude. God damn.
Always hype up your league, but hype up all the leagues.
New whole time, dude. Tri-State Expo League. Like, come on, man.
Hell yeah. What division is the league that you host?
So this was our first year. We did Division 4. We had Division 4, Division 3.
Nice. And where's the field that you guys are playing out of?
He did Long Live in
Paintball.
OXCC.
Oh, LLP. Okay, cool. So that's still in New Jersey, right? Long Live Paintball?
Yep.
And then OXCC is in Maryland, right?
Yep.
And those places, they've held their roots. Like, OXCC has been around for a long time. Yeah, that's good to see. Yeah, everything starts somewhere, and like, good for you for hosting these tournaments and like giving these kids to have an opportunity to go out there and to compete and to play meaningful games. Sometimes when you go to the national tournaments, it's over pretty quick and you made a long trip to get out there. So I think it's crucially important to have these regional tournaments to keep these kids engaged, or, guys too. I'm just calling them kids, but like, we're talking about building the sport and growing the sport. And then that's where the future is like, if you're holding these events at the regional level, those people will find themselves to the national level eventually. And it's like a feeder system into the ecosystem.
No, man, yeah, Waldo's crushing. He's the only dude running like local X-Ball events. Like, there's other local events, but they're mostly race too. Waldo's crushing it, man.
Awesome, man. Good for you. The sport owes you.
Man, dude, I enjoy what I'm doing, and I think the big thing that I actually I'm most kind of proud about is we did Division 5 X-Ball, and that's kind of like a WCPPL, like a West Coast type of thing. Over here there was when you started, I think it started at Division 3. When I started, it started at Division 4. Now they got Division 5 and all this other stuff. But I mean, from somebody to go from 5-man or 3-man to D4X ball, is a big jump. So, offering this D5X ball, I had teams that were walk-on players, 3 weeks before the event, and they're winning some points, they're winning some matches. Yeah, they do some stupid stuff. Like, they won the point, they high-five each other before the thing, so they get a penalty, and you got to explain to them, you can't touch each other, or they walk off the field after they won and didn't hit the buzzer. But, I mean, it's something, I look forward to doing in the future. And then also, mostly, we coach a couple kids. We have an Overshot factory team. We got a couple young kids on there. And as long as, also doing camps. I mean, I did a camp, and we had guys that, played airsoft, and then they bought paintball guns. I mean, that's like really getting people into it versus the same D4 guys that have been playing D4 for 20 years.
It is. And paintball is one of those weird sports where you've got a big age disparity, right? Like Travis, you're saying like you're 33 and you could show up to the field and be playing with a kid who's like 12. And like you guys are automatically on the same level because you're stepping out into the same field. But I think paintball greatly, like I was talking about how I played the Young Guns tournament growing up. I think paintball can greatly benefit if you've got only like under 15 tournaments or only under 17 tournaments where like the kids aren't going to have that same like fear mentality that they don't want to go up and play against, all these guys who are older than them. But if you can kind of keep it competitive within the under 15 range or the under 17 range, and then the winners of all these Young Gun tournaments, if they can go take that to the national level too, at like the different national tournaments, I think that's a great way to get in new bodies to the sport so they can play against people who are their own age. And then when they're ready to graduate from that, then they can go find the divisional teams to play for and stuff like that. But it's a good way to start them out when they're playing against people that are their age. If it's like a under 15 or under 17. And I know they do that for like a lot of like in Maryland, if we're talking about lacrosse, they've got the All-American game, right? And so the goal is to like, if you're playing for your high school team, is to make the under 19 team. Well, what if they had that for paintball too? What if you had like the under 17 team or the under 19 team? And what if we had this under 17 team or under 19 team all around the world? And so like at the Millennium tournaments that I'm playing at, you can have these kids continue to represent, their country. Well, what you did there is not only do you have that final match that's being played by like, let's say the select 5 or 6 kids that were able to make it, but unconsequently, you've also drawn in a lot of younger population too, to want to compete in paintball. So maybe after like striving towards that tournament, they'll find themselves onto a divisional team or they'll be hooked. So I definitely think it's important to hold tournaments just for some of the younger kids, specifically at their level, before they kind of jump up to playing with some of the older guys.
Yeah, no, you're so right. You're so right. So, man, dude, I mean, 2 hours, dude, you crushed it. Thank you for being so generous with your time, man. We really appreciate it. Any closing remarks you want to leave our fans with before we sign off?
Keep it up. Like I definitely miss podcasting. I want to do it eventually for whoever is the different people that I'm interviewing, but you guys have definitely got something good going on here. It's an awesome thing to be able to do. It's an awesome exercise. I think it's really, communication's really healthy, being able to like get a guest and talks and like build on ideas and discover all the similarities that you have, with different people. And paintball's the sport that brings everyone together. So it's really awesome with what you're doing. Keep it up. Know that it's got value, and the value is that person out there that's listening and that wants to, kind of follow the same path that you guys took. So just keep leading the way for them.
Yeah, dude, thank you. Hey, man, we appreciate it. Your kind words. You're too nice. And again, thank you with your time. Before we sign out, I should have done this in the beginning, but again, lucky for our YouTube subscribers. When we hit 500, we are halfway there. I'm giving away this gun right here. It's a DM14. We're going to be doing a nice little picture. Yeah. So YouTubers, again, head on over to the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. When we hit 500, a lucky one will get that. Again, Alex, thank you for joining us. Thank you all our sponsors for helping us out. And we'll catch all of you on the next episode of Overshot. Take it easy, guys.